right foot. And look at the... Oh, what a goal! Shea Adams!
Sent closer towards the back post. Jukovic in there. Jukovic! Oh, what a header! This man is on red-hot form at St Andrews at the moment.
And it goes again towards the towering Zigic. Oh, confusion at Martins! And surely scored the winning goal for Birmingham City!
Hello and welcome to Blues Talk, another closed season special, and we are in Women's World Cup fever. We're joined by Blues captain Kerys Harrop to talk everything about her 20-year stint at the club and those FA Cup memories from a few years back. And also, we'll be joined by our first signing of the summer, Gary Gardner. We'll be taking on the Quickfire Questions. It's all on the way on Blues Talk.
The Blues Talk podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.
Right, Dale, we're sat here. It's slightly new, actually. It's the first time we've done it. We're sat at West Hills. We're not at the St Andrews Trillium Trophy Stadium.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't been back for a while, just with the season finishing. Yeah,
worth pointing out as well, like you said, we haven't been back for a while. It's abandoned.
Yeah, there's only one or two in, just ticking over it for the summer. But yeah, no players' car park's pretty much empty other than a few cars.
Went into reception, signed in. No one had signed in what, 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, a bit of a ghost town at the minute, but yeah, it won't be too long now until it all livens up, and we'll be struggling to find a room here again. So, no, it's good to be back. At least, it feels like we're not too far away now from the season starting again, and yeah, we can start talking about the upcoming season.
Looking forward to it. But at the moment, we do still have football. We've had the Nations League, and we are in the middle of a World Cup with some Blues representation as well.
Yeah, brilliant to see. As we mentioned, the viewing figures and the spotlight now firmly on the Lionesses out in France. Obviously got that big result against Scotland to get them up and running. Mm-hmm. And it's a good time to talk to our very own captain in Kerys Harrop about all things women football, really, from Blues to England and everything in between. So that was really good.
Her duration at the club. I mean, I didn't realise, as you're about to hear, been here, 20 years? Just touching on 20 years?
Yeah, it's impressive. One of the lone survivors of the first FA Cup final win. Mm-hmm. And you actually talk all about her career and how many changes that she's seen. We talk quite in detail about different opinions on the game. She'll probably freely admit that it's came a long way from where it was, but there'll still always be critics of the women's game. And I think what was interesting to emerge in the conversation that you hear is how she believes that the men's team have to invest in women's for you to really challenge. Mm-hmm. With the emergence of Spurs and Man United, who now join the WSL, you'd imagine there'll be more competition at the very top. So, the women finished 4th behind some pretty big hitters this year in the top division of women's football. So really impressive. And I think the club's reputation for bringing through young female players is second to none, particularly in the Midlands. So lots to shout about when it comes to women football and Birmingham City, and something I think we should be proud of as a club.
Our one club mentality here, I mean, it's almost second to none, isn't it?
Well, you only have to look at the end of season awards as a marker. Now, the first time that the men and women have celebrated their seasons together at the big event at the ICC. The fact that the women now move to West Hills here, or the Trillium Trophy Training Centre, and this is their hub now for training, the access to the gym they're going to have, the access to the better playing services. I think it all makes a difference, and I think we are moving in the right direction when it comes to closing and forging the partnerships, closing the gap between men and women's football. And I think the club have just backed it and supported it, which is, as Kerry says, is vitally important.
Quite rightly so. Right, enough from us then. Let's hear from the skipper herself. Kerys Harrop joins us on Blues Talk.
The Blues Talk podcast.
Kerys Harrop, thank you for joining us on Blues Talk. So this is, we're in the middle of the summer. Although it's
lots
pouring
of rain
down
in the
outside.
minute.
Not much going on. It's pretty slow, but you're in doing a bit already?
Yeah, we're doing the off-season programme, so been up nice and early, just to get my weight session done. So I definitely enjoyed a couple of weeks off, made the most of it, but I think I've got to get back to fitness now and crack on.
Do you completely switch off, when you do go away? Or do you always have in the back of your mind, you're going to have to pay back all this food and drink that you might be eating whenever you go away?
Yeah, I'll definitely switch off. You have to, because you're doing it all year round. So, I had a week in Ibiza for my mate's 40th. So that was good. Real
Quiet
good
one.
Laugh. Quiet one, yeah. Well, we're in the off season for Ibiza, so it wasn't too hardcore.
Yeah.
But you know, for us as footballers, you know, we don't drink very often, so it's, I don't
Take
know how
every
people do it, honestly.
No.
Like, you see these young people going out partying night after night, and but I really enjoyed it. It's actually a lovely, you know, lovely island. And there's a lot of families there, actually. I was quite surprised. And then I literally got back and then straight on my friend's hen do. So there's been no rest for me.
And
so
then straight into the gym.
Yeah, straight, and literally, honestly, that day rest I had between our beef and hen do, straight in the gym.
Brutal.
So I've had my good fun 2 weeks, but now I'm back on it. So.
Oh, good effort. How do you look back on last season? We'll start off with last season before we look ahead and anything else. 4th place finish. Lots of changes, obviously, with management staff and players coming and going even during the summer as well. But when you look at the whole campaign in its entirety, how do you sort of reflect on it?
I think we had some real highs. You know, like just things I can remember. You know, beating Chelsea away, that was always a highlight. But I think we had some real lows as well. So it's been quite a learning experience, not just for me, but a lot of the players last season. I think some players, you know, the younger ones, they haven't ever experienced like losing a manager, or there being a change in management, whereas I've experienced that. So I think that was definitely a learning curve for some players. But now I think overall, you know, 4th place, it's not bad, is it? You know,
absolutely.
Behind the so-called big three with all the money, you know, we're always competing in that sense. But as well, I think a bit disappointed because I know that we could have finished 2nd place, and for me at the beginning of this season, I thought this was going to be the season where we got Champions League spot, and we were obviously on course to do that. And then I think with Mark going, I think it hit people hard. It's like in any aspect of life, if you have a big change, it can affect you. So some people rise to the occasion, or some people. I'm not saying we didn't rise to the occasion, but it was hard, like, you know, because everyone looked up to him so much.
And you get used to the way he works, and the players get used to him, and
that's it. You know, it's like, I'm sure if Gary Monk left the Blues, like, all the players would be devastated because you can tell that they really love him and work hard for him, and he's done well for them, hasn't he? So
no, definitely. So how big is that gap between the big clubs and the rest? Because, like you say, we are on course. We were at some stage during the season to break into that top 3 or top 4. 4th place finish isn't by any means an underachievement, but is there a big gap between the big earners and the big money teams and the rest, or are you closing that gap, do you think?
I don't think there's a gap in terms of the quality of the footballers. So I think, you know, I look back on the season just gone, and there's not many players I would swap from our team for any players in the so-called big three, you know. So I don't think it was necessarily about the quality of players. I guess, the money does help in the sense that, you know, if you're earning a big whack, you can fully concentrate on football and you dedicate your whole life to football. And because, you know, you're earning a lot of money, you feel obliged to put everything into it. Whereas I think if some players aren't earning as much and you have to earn money other ways, you can't fully commit yourself to. We still did, and not, you know, as much as possible we did, but, you know, I know there are players in our team that have to do other bits in and around football, and just those small percentages, you won't think it makes much of a difference, but in the grand scheme of things, it probably does.
Do you think it'll get to that stage where all players will then become completely immersed professional from all week, get the money that, you know, that means they don't have to do any other bits, and then you're on at least more of an even playing field?
Well, hopefully. I think that's what is needed. And it's definitely getting better, not just at Blues, but also in the whole league. And I think with the likes of, you know, Man U and Tottenham coming up, you know, they're big money clubs, so they will be able to probably pay their players a wage where they can fully dedicate themselves to football. So it's great for women's football. It is, like, you know, like, I've been here for nearly 20 years now, so I've seen how much it's grown, and I never thought there'd ever be a point where every single team in the WSL would be paying their players a full-time wage.
You got a testimonial yet?
I need one, don't I? I need my own statue outside the ground. As long as it doesn't look like that crappy Ronaldo one, it'll be alright. And so in that sense, it's really good. But then I think it's hard, and I've seen, like, fans comment about it on Twitter, the fact that the big money clubs eventually may take over, and then where does it leave clubs like, you know, the Yeovils, Bristol, clubs like that, who
Reading,
you know, potentially may not be able to compete in that sense. So there's pros and cons, and I guess you've just got to focus on the positives of it.
Yeah, 20 years at the club.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've been here since I was 10, so...
You know what, we were watching, I think you actually got sent a picture of it, we were watching like a documentary style video from, I think it's 2008, and you were interviewed about the Centre of Excellence, like how the club can kind of improve in the years to come. How mad has the change been really in the time you've been here?
Oh, massive. I mean, not, just things like we're here now, and like I was only in the gym the other week, and there was some of the men players like doing their rehab and stuff, and I was just like, I'm here training in the men's, and like I would never in a million years thought that would have happened 10 years ago. And for me, because I've been here so long, I appreciate it more. Whereas if it was one of the other girls, one of the younger girls, they'd probably just be like, they're not bothered by it because they don't know what it was like before. And just getting to play, at St Andrews at the end of the season, like one game a year. The staff now being based at the stadium or being based here at Wast Hills, just little things like that. I think for me, I appreciate it more because I know how it used to be. When we used to be, there wasn't any full-time staff, and we'd just be playing down at Redditch United on the pitch that was slopey.
Training at the uni as well.
Training at the uni, So it's changing massively, really, and hopefully that will keep on happening.
You've seen it all.
I have.
How old do you feel?
I know, see, I'm only 28, so I'm not even that old, really.
Not even that old, but it just goes to show how quick the change has been in the time that you've been involved at the club. Yeah. It's just worlds apart. I feel like in the last 12 months to 2 years, the whole push towards women's football, the marketing campaigns that we see, the fact that now you have your Alex Scotts on, and former pros getting involved in punditry and commentary, and I think there's the whole movement over the last 2 years has just accelerated beyond anything else.
It's massive, isn't it, really? And just like even with the World Cup, the media attention it's got, the fact that Phil's allowed to rope in his mates and get all those little good luck messages, and there was that Twitter campaign, wasn't there, where they'd graffitied like some of the players onto buildings in their hometown, like just things like that. It's just amazing, and it wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. So just little things like that, and I know how much it means to the players. So I know if I was in that position, it means so much to me. So it must mean a lot to them. Yeah,
I mean, we were talking ourselves before any of this and about just the viewing figures around the England-Scotland game. It's obviously made a lot of headlines. Over 6 million watching it. It's broke all viewing figures for the women's football match. Just goes to show really that the numbers stack up as well. That they're watching this. I think I saw a tweet actually this morning saying Nations League viewing figures in comparison.
Yeah, on Sky, I think it was about 5 million less for the Nations
League.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the men's. I didn't even know that was going on. They didn't really promote it very well, did they? And that just shows, doesn't it, how promotion makes a massive deal. Massive difference. Because they've promoted the women so well. Yeah. And now you're getting the viewing figures like that. So.
As a player, how do you feel about people that are critical still of it?
Just doesn't really bother me. I just think you're always going to get critics. I read an interesting article actually with Tony Duggan. She's like England player, plays in Barcelona, and she was saying that in Barcelona the fans absolutely rip them if they've done rubbish.
I heard.
Did you see it? And they were saying in the Champions League final she got rated 1 out of 5 or something.
They hammer them as they would with events. They're very critical with it.
But Tony was saying she said it was a good thing because if you've played rubbish, you don't want to be told. Oh, bad luck. You played fine. It's patronising. So
they don't pity me. I'm professional.
As long as it doesn't become abuse and like that Karen Carney incident. You've got to accept that you will get criticism. And then you're on a platform, you're performing, so your performance is going to get judged. I don't really see it as a bad thing. It's not, as long as it's not malicious, then I don't really see a problem with it.
Yeah, because I was listening to Alex Scott's sort of analysis of the game, and she was quite scathing of the England performance, but in a constructive way, and saying, they'll be happy with the result, but the performances won't be. And I thought it's quite refreshing listening to someone being quite critical of the women's game in a way that wasn't sort of attacking it in any certain way. Maybe that's because she's a former player, and
that's it. I think she's just I think some pundits sometimes they just say what people want them to hear, them to hear, but actually no, just be honest. People appreciate you more if you're honest and say it as it is. So.
I think she's done a really good job as well as a pundit. She sort of broke the mould. I think there was some stuff that came out of the World Cup last year where she'd done all of her research and stuff and almost showed up some of the male pundits who probably just got comfortable and got used to doing it so often, but she actually brought something to the table, and sort of justified her place being there. I thought was really good.
Yeah.
But it's just, you see, just like the night campaign that I saw in the run up to the World Cup, and just having a conversation this morning with a guy who works at a Football League club, and he's got a little girl. She's probably, I don't know, 5-6 years old. And he wanted me to mention this actually, but she was a mascot for the Lionesses game against Denmark at Warsaw.
Oh yeah.
And the Danish goalkeeper sort of took her under her wing, and he said like really looked after her and stuff. And she, after that game, she like loved it, got a full like England kit and stuff. And she just last night or 2 nights ago started to play football. She said she wants to play. Yeah. And I said that is like a perfect example of how actually you hear the narrative and people say, oh, you know, we're inspiring young girls to play. You sometimes think, well, you know, how does it actually work in practice? But that's a great case study of a girl, never kicked a ball before, just a young girl who went and enjoyed the experience that much, got to mix with footballers, can see that like they're just like her, and asked the parents, can I go and play football? Now she's starting to play, and I thought it was such a nice little story of how it actually does work in the real world. But I suppose you involved in the RTC stuff?
Not so much in the RTC. I look after the CIS Club programme, which is obviously looking after the local grassroots clubs. Yeah. So again, I see, you know, how much it inspires kids. Like, I sometimes have to go down and do coaching sessions with them, and every time I turn up, they're like, "Oh, Kerys is here," like, and they're like proper looking. They run up and give me a hug, and sometimes want to give me a kiss, and like, it's brilliant. Like, it's just nice to see, and you know, they're like, "Oh, I want to be like you one day. I want to play for Birmingham." And I think that's all you can ask for, really, as a footballer, is to see young girls wanting to aspire to be footballers themselves.
I remember coming here, it's a few months ago, when did an open training session here at West Hills. Just seeing like the awe in their eyes if they were watching the session, and then the fact that they could interact with you all after as well. And like when they come to St Andrews or the Moors, like the Liverpool game, just seeing how close they can get, it's quite inspirational to them, isn't it? Like Dale was saying.
Yeah.
The close access.
That's it. I think that's probably the difference, isn't it, between the men and the women, is that you get better access to players. Well, I remember years ago when I used to go up the Albion, and players used to come over and they would sign you to give you an autograph.
Yeah, at that time.
Like that was probably when I was about 10, 11, 12. And that's kind of stopped now, which is a shame. And that's, I don't know, I hope the women's football game doesn't ever go like that, because to me, there's no harm in giving someone an autograph or a picture.
And I think it's sad that we as a club were heralded for doing so well last year because we were good at doing that side of things, and the PR side of the club was so good in that the players were always out in the community and had time for fans, whereas that should just be the status quo for all clubs. We should be doing anything different to what any other clubs do, but like you say, the way the men's game's gone a bit very overprotected, kept at arm's length at times at other clubs, and you just think it's quite sad really, because those professional lads were once those little boys on the sidelines.
I think like just one little autograph or picture with a kid makes, you know, such a difference. Like that would make their day or year. Like, you know what I mean? So and I don't think the women's game will ever go like that. I get it sometimes with the men because there's that many fans that you can't get round them all, so you don't want to like favour some fans over others. And I guess with the women's football, our crowds are never that big, so we can kind of get around everyone.
Yeah,
exactly. So
I do think it is nice though. Well, we'll be waiting for like an interview with the manager and a player, and all the girls go to the side after every game and speak to supporters. I think that's quite nice.
I think it's important, so hopefully that will continue.
Would you say that Blues is the club in the Midlands if you're a young girl trying to play football? It strikes me that although you've got a West Brom, a Villa, you could make the argument of potentially the same size, if not bigger clubs in terms of structure. Blues, from a women's point of view, seem to be the club that you'd go to as a young girl. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, I think obviously because we're, you know, in the WSL 1. We are the biggest club in the Midlands, especially for women's football. I think, you know, for the likes of Villa and West Brom to compete, their men's sides are just going to have to invest, and that's what it is. Like Blues have invested in their women's team, and it's paid off. And we can say that we are the biggest women's side in the Midlands. So I think until Villa or West Brom actually invest in their women's sides, then we will remain the best Midlands club.
I think that's quite a big thing too. When you look at that league table and you see Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City and Blues there in amongst it, that's quite a big thing to boast, I think, from the club's point of view. You're mixing it with the big teams. I know it was obviously Mark's big philosophy is not seeing yourselves as underdogs anymore and getting rid of that tag and that label and saying you deserve to have your place here. And I suppose that's the next jump then, is how do you find a way of bridging a gap to the big boys in the division who have got the big resources and the name and the money, and then there's us, and I suppose you just got to try and find a way of doing it, which is the next.
That's it. I think
challenge.
like, yeah, it will be hard with especially with the likes of Man U, Tottenham coming in. They are obviously going to invest the money, but that's where like for us this season it will give some of our youngsters a chance to like step up. So Connie, Schofield, Shania Hales, Sarah May, players like that. They've got to come to the fore now and take their opportunities when they come. Yeah.
In terms of the style of women's football, how different is it to men's? For someone who's never watched a full women's game, there'll be loads who watched Scotland against England the other day and never had seen a women's game before. Do you think there's a big... Is it fair to compare? Because I see some stuff on Twitter that... And it's often used as like a stick to beat them with. Sometimes it's like they'll show little clips of the corner that went straight out or a bit of a skill that didn't quite work. Do you have to look at it as a different sport altogether, or can you compare?
I think it's hard, isn't it? Because it's just the physical for me. Like men just physically are superior. That's just the way evolution is, kind of thing.
Well, some of us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I know some girl players who are probably bigger than some of the male ones. And so obviously with that, if you're more powerful, stronger, then you're going to be able to strike the ball better. So then that makes you technically look better. But, for instance, just with us last season, we've had some very good technical players, and it is frustrating because I know if we were as physical as the men and big and strong, we would compete. I know it for a fact. Yeah. So, we've played friendlies against some lads teams before, and keep the ball as well, keep possession, technically just the same, but they can just knock it past you and run. And that's where we end up losing 6-0, and it's frustrating in that sense. But so for me, it's the game's not different in the sense of playing football. We played some brilliant football last season, and I'll be honest, I've been to some of the men's games, and I've one game. Oh God! No, honestly, there was one Millwall at home in the week, and it was horrendous.
That was a stinker. That was off the back of Villa, wasn't it?
I can't believe, they were just booting the ball, and I'm just like, I know that's not how Blues play, so I'm just a bit like, what are they doing?
Yeah, you chose a bad one.
I probably chose a bad game to come to. So there weren't many games where we did that. We would always be playing. That was what Mark's philosophy was, to get the ball down, play. So I think from a technical side of view, no, the game isn't different. I think it's just physical. Yeah. So, but then, like we said as well, about it's a different kind of atmosphere as well. Like you won't get any hooligans shouting or anything. It's more of a family environment at our games.
Yeah, no, you can see that. When I watch it, especially when I watched Blues last season, sometimes supporters will have their hearts in their mouths because of the way you play. Because in a men's game, you won't see the goalkeeper give it to a centre-half on the edge of a 6-yard box and still try and play when 2 or 3 players close them down. But you see, clearly had the confidence to play that way. Yeah. And I think that was a big selling point, is that any potential players who did look at Blues knew they played a certain style of football. So I think that was a big plus point. And we've watched a handful of games probably every season over the last 2-3 seasons I've been here. And that's the one redeeming feature of every game I've been to, is that you try and play football the right way, if there is such a thing, which I think is a massive pull. Because if you look at a potential player who looks on at Blues, okay, there's bigger clubs in the division, but do they fit into my style of play? You're going to enjoy playing your football there. And if you think the amount of times you kept the ball and the possession and how confident you all are, I think that actually goes a long way to convincing a player that this could be the right place for you. So
yeah, that's it.
How's it been under Marta? Obviously, you said big change. Obviously, coach comes in. She's had a lot of experience abroad, different way of training, different approach to her players and playing styles, but ended the season on a high. How's that sort of transition been for a group of girls? And like you said, because as young players, they'll take it different to how 20 olders like me take it.
At the beginning, me, it was hard. Yeah. And I think in that week, when Mark announced he was leaving, I think we had Arsenal in the Conti Cup. Yeah. And we actually played really well, but we lost that. So we were at the Conti Cup. Then I think we lost a game. We had Reading in the FA Cup, lost that, and then Brighton in the league we lost. So that was a bit God. It was just annoying because I know maybe if that change hadn't happened, everyone's would have been a bit more. There wouldn't have been, you know, what's the word? That feeling of deflation.
Just almost kind of rocked.
So he kind of came at the wrong time, really,
Yeah.
for him to announce he was going. So that was hard because obviously we'd been winning so much at that point as well. So then to like lose 3 games in a row,
frustrating.
that was really difficult. So then I think that probably made us doubt a bit, like, oh God, is the right?
The wheels fell off. Or...
Is the right decision been made, whatever? But then, like, you know, it's like in anything, if you change job or if you know, whatever, there's a period of transition, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of get back to how you were. So, yeah, initially it was hard, but I think you just have to get used to new manager, new style of play, new style of coaching, and just accept that changes happen now, you know, and that's just how it is, and you've just got to get on with it. So, and then that's when we started to get on with it then, and then results started going our way again. We obviously finished on a high.
Yeah. Have you noticed the difference in what's the big changes in our coaching style in comparison?
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's like complete opposite to Mark, really. Like, Mark used to give us every fine detail.
Yeah.
Probably a bit too much at times.
Yeah.
Whereas Marta's more of a she'll let you make the decisions and more like, what's the word, like discovery learning, is it? Like that kind of learning style? Yeah, exactly, yeah. So in that sense, whereas Mark would just give us like, he would still allow us to make our own decisions, but his detail was like second to none. So I think that's why it was so hard as well, because it is like 2 coaching styles probably at the complete opposite ends of the scale. So yeah, it's just, you just get used to that, I guess, don't you? And obviously with pre-season coming up, we'll be able to get used to that again, and then see how it goes in the season. Yeah,
you're looking forward to next year. Just sort of set yourselves any, I know you ask that question every summer, but where do you set yourself your sights on next year?
Well, I think we just want to finish, you know, as high as possible, really. Ideally, we'd like to finish 4th or better. We don't really, it's not ideal, is it, if you finish lower than the season before. So yeah, but then again, you just can't tell, can you? Every season is so different. So, you know, we're just going to push on. I think we want to try and have a better cup run. I think we've done well in the cup in previous years. I think that's probably been where more of our success has been. Yeah. So maybe get back to that and focus more on the cup as well. Yeah, the FA Cup final was good. We were part of that. Yeah. We
played in 2, haven't you, Kaz?
Yeah. So the one we won in 2012. There's actually quite a lot of videos that came up with Bass retiring. Yeah. You see all the tweets and the little
week.
The little videos of us lifting the trophy. And like that.
All the memories come.
Yeah, God, it was amazing. Probably like the best day of my career with Blues. So yeah, again, I think I'm probably the only person in the current squad
Still
now
there,
that's actually experienced
the survivor,
that.
The lone survivor.
That's it. I am the lone survivor.
Can't get rid of her.
I know. So again, I kind of know how that feels. Yeah. So I'd love to experience that again. Yeah. So.
And I feel like there's unfinished business, especially after the last time they went to Wembley as well. And I know Mark was still seething like months afterwards because he just didn't feel like we'd done ourselves any justice there. But it's difficult when you come up against a team like Man City, and the crowd was obviously amazing there. Yeah. I think we were just a bit rabbit in the headlights to start with.
I think for a lot of the team then, it was their first experience of a big final, especially at Wembley. Whereas with the Man City players, they had a lot of like international players. I think that was the season they actually had Carly Lloyd playing for them. So, you know, they had a lot of players who had experienced big occasions, so they probably were a bit more prepared and all kind of suited to it. Whereas for us, it was kind of that first half an hour just kind of killed us off really, and we couldn't really come back after that.
Yeah, because there was chances. I remember me and Tats like miss Yeovil away and miss all these games, but when there was a Wembley game,
straight again.
First on the list, put your hands straight away.
Tats was like, we'll go and do that one. I said, we'll come to that one. But there was chances in that game. Like, it was just the start, just sort of set us off on the wrong footing, really. But no, it was a great experience though, even for us to go and see like Blues in an FA Cup final was like brilliant. And the crowd was nice as well. Like, you do notice there's a big difference between the men's crowd and the women's crowd, just in the fact that, like, you know how American sports do like family stuff really well, and you get that atmosphere. It feels like that whenever you go to a women's game. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we do next year.
Yeah,
but it will be we'll choose our games again.
Oh no, yeah.
The good ones to go.
Well, Yeovil obviously aren't in the league anymore, so you don't have to worry about Yeovil
no
away.
track down there.
It's absolute trek. But no, it's good just to pick your brains. How do you look at England's chances this summer?
Yeah, I think good. I mean, so I've just been out to Nice for the weekend.
Yeah.
The game's good. They're a really good first half.
Yeah.
I think second half dropped off a bit. I think Scotland came back into the game. But, you know, they've definitely got the quality of players, not just in the starting 11 but in the squad. So, yeah, I think they've got a great chance. I think we've got Japan in the group. I don't know if that's the next game or the game after. So that'll be a
good test.
A good test because the Japanese are very strong. But yeah, I just hope they didn't do it, especially with all like the media attention and the money that's gone into like promoting it.
Yeah.
You just hope it, that it pays off in that sense, because there will be a lot of people watching, like you say, because there has been so much promotion. So if you can play good football and win games with all those people watching, then that's when then those fans or people who are watching will then come to our games. So
the casual fans.
Yeah. Casual
might
fans,
just flick and watch a game. You see England go and win a World Cup.
Yeah. Get hooked.
That's it.
Just goes to show how big the impact that you can have off the back of it would be interesting to see. So, no, that'd be really good. What I was going to say about the women's game, I heard an interesting opinion on TalkSport yesterday, and they were saying how, you mentioned the physical differences, whether there's a case to be made that the pitch to be made slightly smaller for women. How do you feel?
Nah, that's just ridiculous.
Time to go away.
That's so stupid.
They were like, well, if the pitch is so big, they can't get around as quick or as fast.
But it doesn't matter if the pitch is big. You just play narrower anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how big the pitch is. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Just because the pitch
Use
is big,
all
you
of
don't
it.
have to stand right in the corner and
on the
flipping-
touchline.
Yeah, exactly. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
And women's
those tall-
goalkeeping gets hammered as well. They were
Yeah.
hammering that a little bit.
Yeah, but they were saying on about making the goal small as
Yeah.
well. It's just stupid. No,
Yeah.
like if they were always looking to get equality in women's football, so then why that's not quality if you're changing it for us? So no, I felt it's just stupid. I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think it was a bit. Sometimes you listen to opinions and they're just there just to try and get phone calls into
Provoke.
Provoke some.
Well, it's just me. It's just probably just something someone's come up with just to provoke a bit of debate. So
Yeah, no. Kes, thank you very much for your time.
that's all
I
right.
think that wraps us up nicely. I look forward to picking our games next season.
I know, yeah.
Come and watch the Man U and Tottenham
I'll
games
see
away.
you at the big games. Then.
But no, thanks ever so much and good luck for the rest of the year. Get back in the gym.
See, I will do. Thank you.
The Blues Talk Podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.
Blues' very own captain, Kerys Harrop herself, with loads to talk about, but you can hear her enthusiasm, not just for the international game, and clearly she knows a few of the players in the camp, but also right the way very down to grassroots football, which she's still involved in. So a really good interview with Kes. She's she reminds us she's not even that old, but she strikes you as someone who's played the game for a while, has been around the professional game. And
I mean, she's been at the club for what? I mean, like I said there, we watched a video the other day. It was from 2008, like I said, and Kes was in it as I think she just started to break into the first team, and speaking about her dreams of how the club can evolve in the upcoming few years. Then, so like turn of the tens. It's crazy to see how much of that has actually kind of manifest, because at the time it sounded like a pipe dream. Karen Carney was in the video as well, talking about being a Brummie girl. Her dream was eventually to come back and play for Blues, but the club needed to get itself to that level.
Yeah.
And it's done so threefold, really, hasn't it? I mean,
in the space of
FA
10
Cup
years.
champions, runners-up, Champions League campaign, 4th in the Super League last year.
Yeah, we're up there competing at the very highest level, which, like I say, and you look at those around us, your Chelseas, your Man Cities, your Arsenals, Liverpool in the division. It'll be Manchester United and Spurs as well next year. We're punching up there with the real big teams in terms of resource, finance. So, as I say, I always look at how proud I am just to be involved with Birmingham City and seeing that they're up there at the very highest level, competing with some huge clubs. So, I think it's something that we should be boastful about. There's other clubs in the region, and we, as Kes says there, we are the biggest club in the Midlands when it comes to women's football. And she don't pull no punches. She's quite forthright about it. I think it's something that we should celebrate. But I like the fact that with the regional talent clubs, Kes looking after sister clubs, there's a network out there for us to try and grab the the young talented players in the region from a young age and get them involved in the club and build affiliations and partnerships with other clubs. And I think that's all part of what they were probably alluding to 10 years ago. The infrastructure around women's football is changing. I do think we're probably, without realising it, in the midst of that transitional period now, between from what women's football was, where it was seen as very much, not a professional setup, not a lot of the players had turned pro at the time. Now, the majority of players in the WSL, if not all, are full-time professionals. And we're sort of seeing that transitional period, and Kes is a fantastic example of someone who's had to witness both the before and during or after now. So where it goes is the next step. I mean, you see all the marketing campaigns around the Women's World Cup. I think public opinion, the swaths and hordes of people that have watched that first England game against Scotland, the figures of over 6 million, all the indicators are that it's growing. What I will say is I'll never dig someone out for criticising the women's game. I thought Kes's opinion on Alex Scott being critical, but then also Tony Duggan's saying how, in Spain they are very harsh on women's football, but she welcomed that criticism because they're professional athletes. And, she talked about calling for equality. Well, you can't ask for equality and then not have the criticism that comes with it. So I think that was quite a mature way of looking at it. And listen, anyone who criticises women's football and they do it constructively is fine. But to criticise it because they're women, that's probably where the line's crossed. And that's where I think a lot of people get frustrated. And I threw the question to Kes, can you compare men and women's football? I personally don't think you can. I think, not just the physical aspect, but the way the game's played, the tempo and pace. There's some things that the men's game's clearly evolved a lot, further down the line than the women's. So I think you have to take it in isolation as its own sport, its own entity. Go down there, enjoy the family atmosphere that it's managed to create. Hopefully it holds on to that. And just take it for what it is, really. I don't like seeing the comparisons on Twitter, both before and after. If a man done this, we'd be waxing lyrical, or when something good happens, but then when something embarrassing happens, they also highlight it. I'd rather just take it.
Yeah, I think there's a balance, isn't there? A lot of people seem to want to pit the men's game and the women's game against each other, when really it's not the thing to be doing, obviously. But again, two very different games, like you're saying, and the balance of opinions there.
I just feel like it's a false comparison, really, to go, well, if a man done this, or okay, well, you're not seeing a man put a corner out for a straight out for a goal kick before, and that's where it gets a bit muddy. The waters get muddy.
It's easy to look at clips out of context as well, isn't it?
So go down there, give it a try, enjoy it. You might listen to it, and like I say in the story there, I speak to people now. It's having a real world effect on young girls in the region who want to go and play football now that you can see that they've got, players that they can aspire to be like. They can see people who look just like them and can go and play, and there's a pathway for them to become little girls saying that rather than just being, a dancer or a gymnast and traditionally more female orientated activities, it's footballs now. I want to be a footballer when I'm older, which I think is fantastic.
Going down the moors and seeing that firsthand as well. I mean, the bond between the club as in the players and the supporters is unparalleled, really, in the men's game, and it is brilliant to see.
Yeah, I think I get to know them personally as well, and the players get to know their supporters. They know the regulars that come down and support them, which is quite nice. It's a two-way street. So, and like I say, I think it should be the status quo in both the men and women's game. We shouldn't be applauded so much, and it's great that we were last year for all the work that the guys were doing with the players and out in the community. But for me, that should be a given for a football club. You should have links to your city or your town that you come from, and the women's game is fantastic at that. Like we say, every game they go over to the sidelines, but they walk the length of the pitch to speak to all the fans that come and play,
and all the sponsor boards.
Yeah, which is great. So now Kes is a really good ambassador for this football club. Talks really well. Been here a long time now. She's seen and done it all. So hopefully we can experience some success as she did in that first FA Cup final. So,
two other ambassadors as well out in France at the World Cup. Lucy Staniforth, of course, playing for England, and Chloe Arthur for Scotland. Did make an appearance as well against England. Good to see Blues representation.
Yeah,
there.
Absolutely. I mean, the more players we can get in at the club playing at the highest level and seeing pitched against one another is fantastic. So, you want that. I mean, you want the girls to be playing and expose themselves at the highest level to that sort of quality of football. You don't. We've talked about how people criticise the pace and tempo games, where you're playing against seasoned international pros there. As Kes said, there was high-profile players against them at that Man City game, but it was the first time they played at the biggest stage, at Wembley, in front of a crowd. The more players that play international football and are wearing a blue shirt, the better for us. So it can only, transpire onto the club scene in a positive way.
Well, speaking of more players wearing a blue shirt, Our first signing of the summer, official. He's back. Gary Gardner on a permanent basis.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you look at a player who made a real impact when he joined the club. It's what you hope for in your loan signings, and played the majority of games in that heart of midfield. Gave us something that we probably didn't have. Dogged, loves to put his foot in, but can also play as well when he turns those balls around the corner for Shea to chase. And yeah, he's a player who clearly wanted to join the club. You could see at the Rotherham game particularly, he went over to the supporters with his brother Craig, and they were obviously making gestures to say that he don't want to go anywhere, and he had that affiliation with the supporters. Took a few weeks into the summer. Obviously hotter going the other way. I know there were separate deals, but it'd been an interesting one that. But Gaz is a player who's still got many years of his career, proving himself in the Championship, and really good that it'll bolster that midfield area, particularly the fact that Michael Kifton bailed out probably until the new year, Christmas time. David Davis still to recover fully from his injury, so it is an area where we needed bodies, and we know what we're getting with him. There's no risks really with taking Gary Gardner in, so fantastic to see him here. And then all the stuff eventually coming out that he's a boiled
Well, I was
loser.
about to say, was here in this very room doing all his media bits when he signed. Just the fact that he was like completely buzzing. I've never seen anyone more excited to sign for a football club on a permanent basis. Came in massive grin. Tat mentioned in his official interview, went out on YouTube and Blue CV, the last text that he sent him before the deal was official was, "I'm a Blue Nose, yes." So absolutely delighted to be here. But like I said, here at West Hills Trillium Trophy Training Centre, doing all the official media engagements. But then we moved on to the important stuff. Gary Gardner joins us for Quickfire Questions.
The Blues Talk Podcast.
All right, Quickfire Questions, joined by permanent Blue signing, Gary Gardner. So, what music do you listen to before a game?
Bit of house, bit of R&B, all sorts really. Harley Dean puts the soundtracks on, so...
Choice is Snapchat story or Insta stories?
I'm not on Snapchat, so Insta.
Favourite restaurant to eat at?
I like Tattoo in town, Tattoo.
Favourite movie?
Man on Fire.
What's your middle name?
Haven't got one.
I've got one. Ideal holiday destination? Is that anywhere in the world?
That's tough. I like Dubai, but Spain, I like Spain, and my missus' dad lives there, and it's nice there. I enjoy my time there.
Nice. What's your order from a coffee shop?
Latte with honey inside.
Honey?
Honey dipped in, yeah.
Interesting choice. Have you met your sporting hero? Who are they?
Steven Gerrard. Yeah, I met him. Yeah. Give me his top and everything. Yeah, so.
Nice. When you go to the barbers, what instructions do you give them when they ask how you want your hair?
Just neat and tidy.
Neat and tidy. Your favourite cheat meal, so like a proper dirty meal?
Curry.
Nice. Last fancy dress party, who did you go dressed as?
When was the last? I think it was my brother's 30th, maybe, and it was the Simpsons. Me and my brothers, yeah.
Which one did you go as?
I think I was Bart, actually, yeah.
Who was Craig? That's a big question.
I can't remember. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Can you play a musical instrument?
No.
If the whole squad had a Royal Rumble, this is a big question. Who would be the last man standing?
Wow. Whole squad.
Quite a few people have said Mark Roberts.
Yeah, he's a beast, to be fair. Mark Robbo, yeah.
Yeah. 3 words to describe your Blues roommate.
3 words. I don't know. 3 words. It's top man. It's only 2, but it's kind of Mahoney. He's a good lad.
That. Yeah. What are the names of all the pets you've owned?
Buster, Jazza, and Creed.
Nice. Most played song or album?
Most played song or album? Probably Drake. Yeah, album.
What type of student were you at school?
I was quiet, but easily led.
Okay. Worst item of clothing you've ever worn?
Worst item of clothing? Probably a pair of trainers, but I normally used to like a funky pair of trainers, but now I'm getting a bit older. I'm a bit
Proper out there.
Yeah.
What are you most afraid of?
Afraid of. Don't like snakes. Yeah, but I'm not afraid, but just don't like them.
Yeah. Favourite city other than Birmingham?
Favourite city in England or
Anywhere in the world.
I like Monaco. Yeah, I like Monaco.
Decent. The best way to eat chicken, so like which part, which flavour?
The leg.
The leg?
Chicken leg, yeah.
Spicy?
Nah, just plain,
Just
yeah.
plain.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on fishing?
My dad's a really good fisher and he fishes a lot, but I find it boring.
Yeah, standard. And your favourite piece of sporting memorabilia?
Probably Gerard's shirt, yeah. Or me and my brother's shirt playing for Blues, yeah.
Nice. Gary Gardner, Quickfire Questions, thank you very much.
The Blues Talk Podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.
Another episode of Quickfire Questions. Some more interesting answers from Gary Gardner. Very laid-back character, isn't he, Guards?
He is, yeah, very chilled.
Takes it all in his stride. Yeah, he's rarely gets excited unless he scores and he runs over to the bench. And I think he's gone over to the Cop once or twice. Then he went over to the bench at West Brom.
He did, yeah. Embraced Pep and Craig.
Yeah, so chips in. But no, as we alluded to, he's good character around the place. Helps that his brother was here, helped him bed in because obviously making the move across the city is always a big one. But and to finally, I think, reveal that he's been a Blues fan.
Kept that quiet for a season.
Well, if you imagine it, not just for the season, but while he was contracted at Villa, he wouldn't have been comfortable and clearly wasn't comfortable in mentioning that he's a Blues fan because it's not worth the hassle, more or less.
Same with Craig.
Yeah. So for him to finally come out, and obviously the club and Gary himself posted those pictures quite mischievously of Guards in his Blues stuff as a little kid and as a toddler who's grown up as a Blues fan. So, I mean, listen, some supporters will say it doesn't matter whether he's a Blues fan or not, just play well whilst you're out there, and that's a valid point. So, but nice to hear that he was so excited to join the club, and I'm sure it's a proud moment for him, for his brother and his family.
Gardner brothers reunited then as permanent Birmingham City players. Must be a proud moment for the family.
I think I know when they first took to the field together as brothers, I know it was a big moment. I remember Craig posing for pictures with Gary in front of Roy, and I think they asked for the picture. I think they asked for the picture because it was obviously quite a big moment. But I mean, that's a dream if you're the parents or close family to see the two lads play for the same team that have both supported and grew up together. Going to watch, it's brilliant. And the first one of the summer now in Hotter, as we say, went the other way, and I think I tweeted shortly after it happened. It just didn't quite hit the heights that we'd hoped for with Hotter. There was sparkles of gold dust in him, and I'm sure there's a player there, and in the right setting or in the right team or league or wherever he might be or go on to play, you might find that he could come very good Hotter, but it didn't quite reach the levels consistently that you'd want. As we say, there's a couple of passes he's put through and a couple of his deliveries were great.
Little glimpses.
Yeah, when he played at the peak of a diamond, I felt it was probably at his best, and the manager tried to find a way of getting the best out of Hotter, but never quite happened on a sustained basis. So it's a move that sees him go the other way, and it's the start of now the summer merry-go-round. I'm sure the rumours will start again now that club football's finished, and it'll be interesting to summer to see the ins and outs.
Of course, any completed business we'll have here on Blues Talk. Hopefully, people who do come through the door will be joining us on the podcast, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pre-season just around the corner. Oh, absolutely.
See, they supported his kids.
The induction. I want photos of them in Birmingham City shirts, or they ain't welcome. That's my official opinion.
We should only sign Blues supporters now.
You got your boots?
Players. Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some more out there, and there's got to be some Blues fans that are playing.
There's one, isn't there? One big one in the Premier League.
Yeah, but it belongs to another club, I'm sure. Well, he's got a tattoo on his leg, so he's not much more of a bigger fan than him.
I ain't mentioning no names anyway. But pre-season, like I said, just around the corner. We're right back into the thick of action now.
Yeah, that's it. Players will be back in in a matter of a week or so.
Weeks time,
not even too long to go now until they're back. And I think when they're back in the building, that really marks the start of the new season. You're now looking ahead to getting that fitness up, and we'll have loads of insight into the testing that goes on in the first week. Sean Rush obviously leading that with his team. And then the following weeks to come where they get beasted and monstered up on the pitches, and the sun will be beaming, I'm sure, and it'll be horrible for them to go through, but we saw the benefits of it. So I can't wait personally to have the players back in the building. We can start to talk about the 4 forthcoming season. And there'll be additions, I'm sure, and there'll be 1 or 2 out the door. I'm sure of that as well. But just again, it just gets the juices flowing. The fixtures obviously come out, so when you can start to mark your calendar off. But now looking forward to it. It's just an intriguing one. See what expectations are like as well, and supporters feel where we should be. You want to build and progress. Hopefully, no points deductions this year to bog us down with.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, but now really looking forward to it. So. Yeah, the next few podcasts could feature maybe 1 or 2 new faces. We'll see.
Looking forward to it. Well, in the meantime, great to speak to Kerys Harrop and of course Gary Gardner today. We're back in 2 weeks' time. That'll be during pre-season, won't it?
Yeah,
just
the players
before?
will be in. Yeah, so that they come in towards the end of June, and then obviously a few weeks of fitness. They'll go away somewhere and do their week away and come back. Friendlies throughout July scheduled in, and then we're really in the thick of it. So before you know it, we'll be looking at that first weekend in August and another 10-month grueling championship campaign.
Bring it on.
Absolutely.
That's what I say. Right, like I said, for the meantime, this has been the Blues Talk podcast. I've been Callum Denny.
I've been Dale Moon.
We'll see you in a fortnight.
The Blues Talk Podcast.